BJ from more Game Gumbo, back on Gumbo Live. I've got Scythe, a game that we've played a million times, one of my favorite games of all time, but this is an expansion I've never had. Bradley's been having it for years. This is the Invaders from Afar expansion, so we're going to be showing that off. Invaders from Afar, designed by Jamie Stegmaier, of course, with art from Jacob Ozalski, published by Stonemaier Games. It's been around for a while. This was the first big expansion it had. It had 2 more factions for it. So when Scythe first came out, it had 5 factions on a big board, but it had room for 2 more factions. And of course, Invaders from Afar came with that. So Invaders from Afar came out. It's got 2 different factions. I forget actually the names of them. I guess we'll get that when we look at them. The Tagawa and the Albion. Tagawa being the purple and the Albion being the green. So let's open up this part first. We've got the miniatures. I'm sure by now everybody's played Scythe. But just in case, it's an area control, as they say, combat, dudes on a map type of game, where the combat is not necessarily the most important thing about the game. In fact, it's often the threat of combat that really affects and dictates how the game is played. But it's as close to a Euro version of that I like, and I think that's why I like Scythe more than some of these other games. But in particular, it's like a 1920s alternate history where there was a great war, or 1930s maybe. There was a great war, and everybody used these fantastical weapons that came from the factory. And then after the war, the European area was kind of subdivided into 7 areas. And so each of the factions plays a little bit different. They all have different player boards, and the game is different every time because the player boards themselves have another part to the player board that gets randomized. There's some cool mechanics inside that I really like. One of those was the first time I'd ever played a game that had this follow mechanic where somebody would take an action, and then if you had upgraded that part of your board, you would get a benefit from it. And there was just something about that positive influence that came from that. All right, enough about Scythe. Let's talk about this expansion here. As you can see, we're going to have some new mechs. I'm actually trying to figure out how to get this open, but all right, so here we go. These are the 2 new main characters that we're going to see. I'll get that zoom in there. So as you can see, Tagawa. It's got each one of them has a person. This is their main character, the plastic as we call it in the game. And then they have their representation, their animal representation. And this is the Albion. And you can see all the detail in there. Looking really good. Albion, Tagawa. Let's see what else we have. So we've got, then I'll put these 2 aside. And we've got the mechs, of course. I'm trying to figure out how to get these mechs out of there. Oh. All right, so one of the neat things about Scythe is the mechs. Each one of the different factions has a completely different mech. And so I'm going to show you the Tagawa. There they are right there. You get with 4 of them. Each one of those mechs can be upgraded, and they usually have special powers to them. I mean, they all have special powers to them. One of them is kind of the same as in all the different factions, but each one of the factions usually has something cool, like River Walk or something. So we'll look at those. These are the main weapons on there. The citizens themselves aren't really weapons. In fact, they are bad if you attack them. The plastic heroes are the ones that can do events and pick up stuff. And it combines some of the pick up and deliver and some of the the area control, and some of the upgrading that you see in Euro games, because each one of these can carry, different the little different human pieces, the followers around, and that's the ones that are going to work on your production. So let's keep going and see what else is in the box. All right, plenty of player pieces here. We've got, let's see if I can make some room for that. All right, so the name of the game is Getting Stars. In Scythe, that's going to be the game end trigger when a certain amount of stars have been collected. And of course, that's what we're going to have in this bag here. We've got stars for the purple faction, along with some cubes that'll be used. Oh yeah, I want to look at these. There are also 4 upgradable parts to your board. Each one of those, some of them look familiar from Viticulture if you've played it, but each one of these is going to have a unique way of playing. So, for instance, the mine right here allows you to jump from mine over to the different spaces on the board, and in some ways, it helps a kind of a landlocked, somebody surrounded all by water, having trouble without Riverwalk. This is one of the ways that they can get out. So you have all the different ones. This will help you with your production. So all the different, each one of the factions is going to have all 4 of these pieces. So, and of course, you got to have some minions here, the workers, as we call them. Workers themselves. Are they different in every faction? These are big compared to the, I don't remember that. I didn't remember that the purple ones are so big. Wow. Take a look at how big they are. There's your workers. You're going to start out with a certain number of workers, and then you'll slowly upgrade and keep collecting workers. Of course, the more workers you take off, the more expensive it is for your next action. So that's a good seesaw that you have to play, a little balancing act. And the rest of the pieces. So these are the ones that track all of the stuff you do in the game. So you've got your hearts, you've got your military, you've got your 4 upgradable cubes that you'll use. And then, these are those circles that I told you about, that whenever you upgrade your board, you can actually get benefits when other people take those actions. And then this is basically your worker, where you're going to move from slot to slot on the board. And as you do that, you can take different actions, the top and the bottom action. And that's what denotes that. So, all right, so that's all the pieces for the Albion. Nope, sorry, for the Kanagawa. And then not Kanagawa, I'm drawing a total blank as to the name, and I apologize. I'm going to make sure I've got that. The Tagawa. Yep, that's the Tagawa, the purple one. Okay, so let's take a quick look. And the only thing I want to do, because all the pieces are exactly the same, except I just don't remember, because it's been so long since I've played regular old Scythe on the tabletop. We used to play it a lot online. Look at the difference in the workers. This is the standard workers that I'm used to. Zoom that in. These are the standard workers that I'm used to in playing Scythe. And look at the comparison with the Albion and the Tagawa. I'm going to have to explore that. All right, let's keep moving on. What else comes in the box? We got all the pieces for the green faction. We've got a rulebook. Invaders from Afar tells the backstory of the 2 factions, the Albion and the Tagawa. Distant factions on the board playing. You can play up to 7 people, although from what I remember, when I've seen Jamie Stonemaier talk about it, he still says this is really a 5-player game. You can play up to 7. We've done it. I've actually played 7 at Gumbo game night with everybody way back when we used to do it at Bradley's office. And because we were all experienced, I think all but 1 or 2 were all experienced Scythe players, we played in under 2 hours. But I could see where if you're just starting out and playing Scythe, I don't know that I would play all 7 factions. All right, it's got a good component list. I like when companies do this. It's got a visual representation of what each one is. And then we've got how to play with 6 or 7 players. So giving you some tips on which ones to use and which ones not to use. Tells a little bit more about the Albion clan and what their different mech abilities are. Like I told you, they've got Burrow, which is going to help you go through rivers. Sword, which is for attacking. Shield, which gains you 2 power as the defender when you engage in combat. Wow, that's pretty tough. And then Rally, when taking a move action, your character and mechs, characters being this part here. Characters and mechs, this being this part here, can move to any territory that contains at least one of your workers or a flag token. And that's the trick with the Albion. So let's take a look at that. The Albions have these 4 flags. And already you can see they're going to be used for movement. There we go. But they're also, let's see if I can find their player board. Yeah, there we go. And that's it. Move to any territory where you have a worker or a flag token. So if you can leave that flag out there, then you're gonna move those mechs even quicker. Because that ability, that rally ability, when upgraded, combining with the Exalt, which says after moving your character, you may place a flag token on its territory. Ooh, you can really jump with Albion around the board with all of your mechs, just kind of following the character, which is moving fast. And you can see the lovely artwork here. Maybe I can zoom that in. Yeah. Beautiful artwork here from Jacob. Conrad Max, Clan Albion. He's got the pipe smoking. That's where those upgrades here that we were talking about. Enlist is what it's called, and 4 different mech abilities. Okay, very nice. So starting here with 3 power, no cards, and you'll see the green faction. All right, so let's move on to and like it tells you a little bit about the backstory here. So that's nice and neat. Let's move on to the Tagawa Shogunate. Talks again about the faction abilities that they're going to have. It talks about the traps, and that's the main part that I remember about playing the Tagawa. So in the Tagawa faction, you've got these 4 tokens here, and these are going to be placed face down on the board as the character places it. And on the flip side of those are all different events. So there's a -3 power. That's bad if you trip that trap. -2 hearts, another bad one. -4 on gold, another bad one. -2 on cards. So this is the Tagawa player can go out there and set these mines or traps around. And that, again, this game is all about the threat of something happening. The fact that you can't see what's on the other side of this token is going to prevent people from messing with the Tagawa Shogunate. So it's a way of just, again, kind of a passive-aggressive way of controlling the nature of what's going on the board, just like it is with combat. Now, I have seen games where combat does happen a lot. So this is not to say, I've heard people say there's no combat in this game. If you get the red faction going, there's a couple of factions actually that are all about getting combat. So that is not quite true that it's not about combat, but it seems to be more about the threat of combat. So it talks about what happens when you trigger the trap, talks about the different abilities. So let's take a look, since we're talking about the different mech abilities, let's talk about those right now. So we got this board here, again, beautiful art there with Akiko and Jiro from the Tokugawa Shogunate. You'll see they start with no military power. Hey, what? ABTD, this is Scythe, the Invaders from Afar. I've never had it, so I'm just kind of breaking it open and looking at it. I played it. In fact, I played both of these factions. I just never had it. I never owned it till recently. I bought it from Stonemaier. So it talks about the 4 different mech abilities. For the Tagawa, it's the Toka, moving across rivers, again, giving you that river walk. So getting that upgrade is good. You have one about moving from lakes, to and from lakes in combat. On a lake, you can play an extra card. So wow, you're going bam, bam, bam through the water. The Ronin ability before combat, where you have exactly 1 unit, you're going to gain 2 military. So there's that Ronin warrior that's out there by themselves. And then the shinobi, move to any territory with a trap token, you may arm the trap. Oh, nice. Flip that trap token back over and reset the trap. Interesting. Okay. What else does it come with? Let's see. Comes a change here. Oh, I'm gonna have to read about that. What is that? What's that change here? So it comes with components, some Automa reference cards with specific rule changes for Albion and Tagawa. Okay. Got that. All right. I haven't played Automa in a long time, so I'm not too worried about that. It also, since you're playing with more players, presumably, so there might be more points being scored, it's going to come with these 50-point chips. Now, many of the Scythe players that I know upgrade for those Scythe coins, and they're a little pricey, but I'll tell you, they're very high quality coins. I really enjoy those coins. Okay, so what else do we have here? We've got plenty of bags. Love it when companies give us plenty of bags. We got that. Oh, okay, so there's the 2 extra player boards that are going to be playing. This is the, you've got the faction boards, and then you got the player boards themselves, and that's where you're going to be placing all of the different pieces that we have whenever you're setting up your game. You'll place your armory here. Notice that they're different. That's one of the beauties about Scythe. Each one of these boards are a little different. So here they're giving you 2 more boards. And do they have a name for these boards? Usually they have some kind of name for them. Let's see. Innovative or innovative, as people used to say, and militant. Okay, so 2 different boards that are going to be a little bit different. Each one of these, as you can see, is going to, let me zoom that in. Each one of these, as you can see, besides the artwork, it actually has the different actions on different, they don't line up perfectly. As you can see, they're different. Each person's board is going to be a little bit different, and they're going to upgrade differently. Whereas this one takes 4, and this one only has 3 that can be upgraded and 1 that can be upgraded. This one has none. So just depends on what random faction you're getting, unless you're playing with these in particular. All right, so the last thing to go through that it comes with, and I'm assuming this is some reference cards maybe. Let's see. It is 2 reference cards for rule changes in playing the Automa, and then the encounters with the, kind of changes up the encounters with the factory for, playing with the Albion and the Tagawa. So, interesting, okay. All right, so that's everything that you're going to get when you pick up Scythe Invaders from Afar. You're going to get 2 complete factions with all the pieces, each one of them having unique abilities. You're going to get 2 complete sets of player boards, the specific player boards for each one of the factions, and then the 2 new bottom boards for militant and innovative. So that's everything you get in Invaders from Afar. Till next time, laissez les bons temps rouler.